in a nutshell, you basically built a $1 billion company doing webinars. I mean, there was a time when you were not this. This is like you're building a museum next door. I come in.
I'm such a nerd. I was museum.
I was at Grant Cardone's office, and it was like over the top nice. And this comparatively is pretty modest.
Yeah.
And I was complimenting yourself. It's really cool that you guys have like this modest office, and it's more down to earth, and it's not. And they're like, well, did you see the museum Russell's building? I'm like. Should not have.
It'll still be modest though, but a lot of really cool books. So,
so anyway, here's the first question I want to ask, and then we can talk about these webinars and sales presentations. I've made $30 million with them, and it's funny because I learned that first from you. So thank you
from a $7 book.
From a $7 book, and then remember when I gave you $30,000 for the mastermind?
You say $30,000. Like I feel guilty, like I owe you because I spent $7 and you changed my life. So here's $30,000. I'm like, thanks, and then you never showed up. No, you come to any of the mastermind meetings.
I was busy,
but I'm grateful for it. Every time you read a book, you should send the author $30,000 later. So
I watched all the like the stuff. Like I got value out of it. I was afraid of flying at the time, so I didn't come. And now I fly planes. So.
Whole 180 there.
Yeah. Anyway, so from the point where you were small, because there's a lot of people that are small. And they're they don't even have an office, it's a home office. I remember the first event you guys did, it was like, anybody could have done that in any hotel. It was like nothing. It was just like little blue lights on a black cloth.
With a canvas sign that said Funnel Hacking Live, hung with fish hooks up to the thing.
Yeah, all kinds of like Jeff Bezos with the spray painted Amazon thing. My question to you is internally in your mind, from there till here, not in the terms of sales tactics or any of that. What was the internal shift in your mind where you realized a fundamental principle of how to get to the next level, of how to stop being small and start being big? What was that like? That is how people do it. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Was there something like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing was because prior to ClickFunnels, I had been doing business for about 10 years. And in that 10-year window, I had launched probably 100 plus different offers. So I was like, thing. And I always had I had incremental successes, little ones here and there. And some would be like, back then I was like, oh, we made a ton of money during a thing, but then it would always go away. And then lots of little ones that didn't do anything. And it was just kind of like
variable.
Yeah, it was hit and miss. It was all over the place. But I learned the skill set, right? I learned how to build a funnel, how to make an offer, how to do things. But nothing was, I think my biggest year prior, it was $2 or $3 million to get kind of hitting that ceiling. And then, when we decided to build ClickFunnels, it was mostly initially for us to have a tool to make what we were doing easier. And we decided to sell it. And I remember Todd, my business partner, he's like, if we're going to do this, you have to focus on this, ClickFunnels. I don't want you to launch it and then do your next offer. And that's what the marketplace knew for me. And my list knew is Russell launches a new offer every week. And so that's what was happening.
And were you getting... you were running out of stuff to launch?
No, we just kept launching stuff. But it was just, there was no compounding interest, right? It was just an offer, next thing,
Okay.
And so
you kept having to work.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So we did ClickFunnels was okay, and Todd told me, he's you have to promise me. He's I spent a year of my life building this. You have to spend a year of your life promoting just this and nothing else. And at the time I had a million different little things. It's okay, I'm going to focus on them. So we got rid of everything else, sold other companies, just got down to it was just all I had was ClickFunnels. And then we launched it and it didn't go well at first. And I was like, oh crap! So my default is okay. I can make a new offer, and we can. And Todd's like, no.
That's the info marketer.
Oh yeah,
curse.
The cycle, So I wanted to go make a new offer, and he's like, no, you they figured out another way to sell it, and I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, we can't just move on. So I tried again and tried again. And if you've heard my story, we tried 6 different little launches to try to get it to work, and none of the funnels connected, or none of them worked. I couldn't afford paid ads. Nothing would work until the 6th one. One of my friends had asked me to come speak at a seminar, and he's like, hey, I need you to sell ClickFunnels. And ClickFunnels was a free trial at the time, and he's like, I need you to sell a $1,000 version of ClickFunnels. And I was like, but nobody's buying the free one. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to speak at this event, come and do it. So I flew out to the event. On the way over, I made a webinar. I made PowerPoint slides, put it all together, got on stage, did the presentation, and launched it. And I still remember it was a room of probably 300 people, and 60% of the people ran. They were jumping over each other to buy the thing at the end. And that night, it was me and Todd, and Dylan was our partner, a couple of us. We went to dinner that night, and everyone's happy because we finally made a little bit of money. We made whatever it was, $100 grand or something. We were pumped. But at dinner that night, I was like, you guys don't understand. I was like, I've been trying for the last 4 or 5 months to sell ClickFunnels. It hasn't worked. And I was like that proved like it worked. Like I know how to sell it now. Like it's over. And I told him, I was like, you don't understand. Like now that we have the model and how to sell this thing, like I don't know how I phrased it, but I was like, it's over. Like we are going to be the richest people we've ever met. And they're like, what do you mean? Like they were like happy at $100,000. I was like, no, like I know what it is. And so that night I was texting everybody I knew who'd ever done a webinar in the history of all time. I'm like, I have an offer. It's converting. We just crushed it. We got 60% close rate. Like, do you want to do a webinar? Do you want to do a webinar? And then that flight, I was flying home from the event, texting everybody on my phone. I paid for that $9 internet so I could text people. By the time I landed, there were like 40 people like, all right, I'll run the webinar. I'm like, and so we started lining them up. And I was doing at least one a day, sometimes 2 or 3 a day webinars over and over and over. And I kept getting better at the pitch, better at the pitch, better at the pitch. And then we did that for the first 40 or 50 webinars. And then I ran out of people who could run the webinars. And then I'm like, we have to learn how to run ads because we're out of people that can run webinars. Yeah. And so I'm like, in my little company, I'm like, who wants to learn ads? And John Park's like, I'll learn ads. I'm like, cool, learn Facebook ads. And I like, put up a landing page, like, start promoting
John Parks, you're like main media buyer.
Yeah, he'd never bought ads.
Like the top guy. He's like, okay, I'll go figure it out. Yeah, that's amazing.
And so he logs into Facebook and he's buying the courses and he's going through it all. And then we started promoting this webinar. And it took 3 or 4 webinars before we got, figured out ads and how to get it to work. And I remember the first time we did a webinar to we always joke, it's like Mark Zuckerberg's list, and it worked and we made money. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to have another JV partner. We just like Zuckerberg's our JV partner. So we started doubling down there. And then we started like, how do we get Google to buy ads? How do we get,
now he's not being a good friend.
Yeah. He's a jerk. We don't like that guy. But that was the game. And so it came down like, as soon as we figured out the sales system, instead of doing what I normally do, which is like, cool, it worked to sell something else. It was like, no, just keep selling this. And like over and over and over and over again. And now we're 8 years in. And what I talked about, like compounding interest, like it compounds, right? 'Cause someone buys ClickFunnels from a webinar, but then after their 6-month thing is over from the package, they go roll into a $300 a month continuity program. And that keeps happening. And so what happens now is 8 years in, we have 100,000 people paying $300 a month to use the platform. And that's like, if you do the math, it's insane, right? But like that's how, that was the big shift was like, in fact, I had Mary Ellen Tribby. I don't know if you know Mary Ellen, but she said something that was like in my head what kept me focused on this. She was like, you internet marketers, you're so smart on one hand. Like you will go and do the equivalent of like writing a Hollywood play, right? You hire the best screenwriters and actors and you will practice and prepare and everything. And then because you live in Boise, Idaho, you put on this play and you sell it out. People come up and you do the show and then it ends, the curtain closes. And you're like, cool, let's make a new play. And then Mary Ellen's famous for taking companies and scaling it. She's like, all I do is I take you guys who are so smart, who created everything, instead of just doing the show once in Boise and then trying to write a new show, I take your show and I take it on the road. And I take it to New York and Chicago. And like, that was the thing. So as soon as we had the show perfected, as soon as the webinar hit, instead of like, okay, let's write another webinar, it was like, let's take it on the road. And then we started hitting everyone's list. And then Facebook and Google and Instagram and TikTok and like everywhere. And 8 years later, it's made a lot of money.
So when I read your book, and I was like, oh, this webinar thing. Because, that like same week I got a letter from the IRS that said I owed $250,000. Mm-hmm. And I was doing okay. Like I had an agency, I was doing okay. But like I didn't have no $250,000. So I read your book and I was like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. But if it does work, this will solve my problem. Yeah. So I the next 2 weeks I was just like dedicated to doing what was in the book. I did the webinar. And I don't know if you saw the video that I played, but I posted this video on Facebook after the webinar, and I'm having like a beer with my dad, and I'm like, I made $45,000 in a day. And here's the thing. I was not excited about making $45,000, not even in a day, just in a couple hours. What I was excited about was the fact that I could do it. Mm-hmm. And if I could do it once, I could do it like 100 times. And it was at that moment that I realized that I had spent my entire life up until that point trying to figure out one thing, one skill, and I didn't know this at the time, that would change everything. And now that I had learned that skill, I knew that that was going to be my key to completely changing my life. I did the webinar again a week later, did $52,000. Mm-hmm. And I eventually ended up hiring a lawyer that got that $250 IRS bill down to like $50,000. So I didn't even have to pay it. But that's what I was excited about. Not the money, the fact that I had acquired this skill. And then I went all deep into it and ended up doing like roughly 30 million from it. Mm-hmm. And then what was even better was that you have asked me to speak a couple times to your audience about that. And it's just like to go from this book being like in this horrible position, reading this book from this dude, and then, whatever, 5 years later, I'm on stage sharing how I did all this stuff with this thing, all this money and built this huge company, and your company's gone up. It's just amazing. And I think the principle here is that people often give up because things don't work right away. Mm-hmm. And in reality, they just have to learn one lever. Like there's 1,000 levers, and they're pulling on the levers, and eventually they get sick of pulling on levers and they sit down.
Yeah.
But the people that succeed, they don't stop, and then there's the lever, and then it just opens the door.
They get overwhelmed. There's so many levers, I don't know which one to do. There's so many people, and it's like, just pick one.
Yeah,
like,
just do it.
Like you can do webinars or high ticket, or like they all work. Just pick one, but don't pick like 12. That's the problem with people. Like,
they're
I'm watching my head ticket while doing a webinar and my tripwire and I'm writing a book at the same time. Like, what? No wonder you're not successful. Just pick one, and like, doesn't matter. Pick one and then put on blinders and just do that one, right? And that's the key.
Now, do you ever... Look, I'll ask you a more like timely question with how things are going in the world now, because I don't think we can avoid this. Right now, you're seeing it on Facebook, you're seeing it on Twitter, you're seeing it on social media platforms. People have opinions, right? And part of growing a brand is having a strong opinion. You attract people like you, so you could sell the same thing, but if you have certain interests or certain political views or religious views, you attract people that have those views who also have that problem. Mm-hmm. And so my question is, in the scope of today where people are getting banned for having an opinion, if it doesn't fit into the opinion of the people that own and manage those social media companies, how are you navigating, not that you're super polarizing. I mean, I
should be asking you this question.
Well, that's why I'm asking you this question. Well, how do you navigate that when you know that for the most part, your opinions are not supported by the platforms in which you market on?
Yeah, I think it's a great... it's interesting because you think about that, like Facebook and Instagram or YouTube, whatever, it's their platforms. Like we're coming to a party, it's their party. And so for me, like I do think things are probably, I don't think they're polar, but some people obviously do, right? And so, but I do those things on my platform. So Perry Belcher told me this way back in the day when Twitter first came out. I was trying to figure out Twitter and I was just spamming like crazy and like making no money. And Perry'd be out there, he'd be like the life of the party, and everyone's following him, they're talking, and I was like, I don't understand the social media thing. And he said, you have to understand, social media is like going to a party. He's like, you been to a party before, Russell? And I'm like the awkward introverted guy. I was like, not really. And he's like, okay, well, people go to parties, and they're all in there, and everyone's networking, having fun, drinking, doing whatever. It's like, there's always that annoying guy who comes in and is like pitching their thing or trying to do their thing. And he's like, that's what you're doing on Twitter right now. I was like, oh, I'm the annoying guy. He's like, he's like, I'm one of the cool kids. This is what we do. We go in the party, become friends with everybody, and then we invite them to our house. And our house is where we sell them products. We do all sorts of stuff. We have our opinions. We go deep, right? And so my whole goal is not to try to fight against the platform to get my opinion to matter. My goal is to leverage the platform to get my voice out to more people so I can become the life of the party, so I can bring it back home. And then at my events, on my email list, on my blog, like places where it's my home, I'm going to talk about my beliefs in God. I'm going to talk about my beliefs in whatever. I'm like, whatever things matter to me, I'm going to share those things. And if those people don't like it, they can leave the party at my house. That's cool. But yeah, so like, because I don't want to lose. I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds me, right? Like, yeah, I spent the last, how many years building up my YouTube, my Instagram, like huge followings. Like, is it worth like me throwing my opinion down to like lose access to these people? Like, I have some friends who lost their entire businesses, and it sucks. And like, they shouldn't. Like, I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, now you can't do any good. So instead, like, I try to understand that, so I can, like, I'm trying to save people from these platforms, bring in my world, and then we can like do what we need to do.
Because there are a lot of people, especially people who've paid Facebook millions of dollars. I'm one of them. Yeah. Millions of dollars. And what kind of company do you pay millions of dollars? You don't even get like a gift basket. Yeah. You don't even get a birthday card, let alone something, customer support or anything. And then if they don't like what you say, they ban you. But I love what you're saying, because you're saying like, listen, you can fight the game, right? You can be mad at the game, or you can just play the game better and win the game. Yeah. And so that's,
because I want to be around long term. I don't want to be, I want to be doing this in 20 years from now, 50 years from now. So like, I don't want to rebuild my Facebook.
So you want to keep doing this?
Oh, I love this game.
Yeah, because every year I'm like, is Russell going to sell? Are you going to sell? Are you going to sell? When's he going to sell? Because if I were you, like, and look, I say this, but I would probably sell a company, take like, I'm going to take a year off, and then a month later I'm like,
bored out of your mind. Yeah,
I got to start a company. But which is what I just did. But do you ever think that you would? And I know that if you would, you wouldn't answer this. But do you ever see yourself actually exiting a company like this and moving on to something new, a new passion? Or is this something that like you want to pass on to your kids and be like the Rockefellers of internet marketing and of business and of online marketing? Like, where's your vision there?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people see what I do and they look at like, oh, this is Russell's company, but in my head it's separate. Like there's like the Russell brand. I bought Dan Candy's company. There's Dan Candy brand. There's things like that, and there's ClickFunnels. And of the assets that I have, like ClickFunnels is the only sellable brand, right? Like no one's gonna buy the Russell Brunson brand, the Dan Candy. Like those are harder, but those are my passion things that I love. And so I think there may be a time. I doubt we'll sell ClickFunnels. I think potentially we might take ClickFunnels public or something. I'm not sure yet. That'd probably be my exit. Is we take it to the world, set it public. But like the Russell Brunson brand, like the info products, like I'll be doing masterminds till I'm 90. Like I don't want to. Like I love that. That's what fuels me up. So I do think there'll be a time when the stress and the weight of running a huge platform, I may not want to be the front guy of that. But I like my calling is to serve entrepreneurs. So like I don't want to stop that. It may look different. It may be like, hey, I'm not writing books anymore. Maybe I'm going to write tons of books, or maybe I'm going to do events, or maybe but like that piece of my life, at least I don't think will ever stop.
Do you mind if you coach me?
Yeah.
You know how Myron says, do you mind if I coach you? Yeah. I did that to him on an interview. I'm like, do you mind if you coach me? And he's like,
I would love to, sure.
Yeah. Here's a question. Masterminds. So mastermind, people pay a bunch of money. They come, they listen. So I've always done mine where people come and I help them. And I think that's just because that's what people have resonated with me the most. However, it's exhausting and I want to learn from other people. I don't want to just be the one talking.
Yep.
But it sells way better when I'm like, come to my office and I'll fix all your problems for 2 days.
Yeah. Wait. So what happens? So people who sign up and come to you are people who have a bunch of problems. Because my mastermind is not people with problems.
That's my question. How do you market a mastermind? Or what would be your angle of pitch for something that's 25, 30, 50 grand? And you're basically saying, hey, you're somebody awesome. I want you to come to this room with other awesome people so you guys can all share. Because you don't speak all day at your masterminds. Everybody else is speaking. Yeah. Is there like a certain way that you pitch that? Or what would you tell somebody who doesn't want to always be the person and they want everybody, like what's your, in a nutshell, secret to pitching that offer?
Yep, okay, it's easy. So if you read Expert Secrets or listen to Dan Candy talks about the difference between an improvement offer and a new opportunity, right? And you're amazing at this. You're amazing at creating new opportunities. Anyone who has a business that like blows up because they create a new opportunity, they launch the market, and people freak out. It's like, oh, this is the way, and they buy this thing, right? The problem is you've gotten so good at that when you're selling your mastermind, you're selling this new opportunity. You have problems, I'm gonna solve them. You have problems. Yeah. Improvement is the worst thing to sell on the front end, right? Like, I'm gonna make you better or smarter. You know, like anything with the ER sucks on the front end, but it's the secret to the back end, right? So the people who want improvement, they're not the masses. It's not the people in. But the improvement are the people like me or you who like you come to Mastermind for 3 days looking for one sentence, like that was it. Boom, that's $1 million idea and you run, right? And so those people they're not looking for a new opportunity. They already have an opportunity. I'm trying to help them improve. And so it's not a mass market offer. I can't sell, it's not gonna be something that's gonna convert on ads and stuff like that, but it's like I bring people in on a new opportunity, and then the people who want improvement will like rise to the top. And so you have to create something where it's like they want to rise, they see where it's going, and they see the other community like, oh, these are the people that are like, that want to improve themselves. And it's a much smaller, it's like 1/10 the size of your audience, but they're the right people. And so it's just a different offer. Like you don't join my mastermind because if something's broken, you have a problem. I've never, my pitching's not that. In fact, if you watch.
Do you say that in your pitch?
Yeah, like it's the only time I pitch Inner Circle is at Funnel Hacking Live. We do, everyone who's 1 or 2 Comma Club comes to lunch. And if you watch that, in fact, my team, I did the pitch this time and we closed 100 people at 50 grand, 20 people at 150 and 20 people at $250,000. My team was just like, that was like so weird. It wasn't like normal Russell who's like, energy and pitching. I'm like, yeah, this is not a pitching. I said, here's the opportunity. We meet together. This is what it looks like. This is the people in the room. The people you've heard, you've seen the Hermosi, you've seen Brandon Caleb Poland. Like you see, people, they're the ones who are in the room. So if you want to be in a room like that, this is the room where it happens. All right, and hope you enjoy lunch. I'm out.
So if you were to take that whole pitch and condense it into 10 seconds, that would be the pitch.
That's it. Yeah, it literally is like this is the room where it all happens. These are people that are either in this room or have been in the room, who are all the people you see everywhere. Like that's what happens. And like a lot of people come into it because they want to meet with me, but they come for the personality, but they stay for the audience or they stay for the group.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's incredible.
But yeah, I don't talk about problems because you get people with problems.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right because I talked so much about problems in my front end that I just naturally talked about them in the back end, and people were willing to pay more. I always say that, if you give something away for free and people are interested to pay you in time to consume it, there's always a percentage of those people that will pay to get more help with that. Mm-hmm. And if just 1% will make, like I bought that, remember when I bought that $2 million house and mm-hmm. I had a little too much to drink and I sent you a video, which you play every year to everyone. You know how many times I've been at the gas station? You're the drunk ClickFunnels guy. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, thanks, Russell. But
that video got like 3.5 million views and sold tens of thousands of copies of my book. So I'm grateful for it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, next time, instead of cutting a check to the Harmon Brothers, you get, I'll take half.
Here's a beer.
I'll take. Yeah, give me a beer. I need more than one, but so that said, this wobbly chair.
We have the weirdest chairs. Dude, it looks funny because these are like these chairs that move. Like anyway,
leave it to you to have this weird, like futuristic chair in here. Yeah, but that's what I was saying is I got so used to solving people's problems that I just forgot to make the shift to the back end. And so I had 100 people in a $55,000 mastermind, but I shut it down because I was just so exhausted. Yeah. But man, just
if you came back to your audience, and again, it's not the whole audience, it's a fraction, which is what's hard because we're like, we're used to big numbers, but it's just like, this is what we're doing. I'm doing a room, and it's not me doing all this stuff, but we're gonna build, like, the people you want to hang out with are all in this room. This is what happens, and like the right people raise their hands. And people with problems aren't gonna come there because like, well, you can solve my problem. Like, no, that's not what we're doing here. Like, there's gonna be a connection or a thing or an idea or one thing you hear that's gonna be the shift. We had a lot of struggle with like, because we have our 2CCX program, which is $25,000, and it's a coaching program, right? And people that transition from coaching to the mastermind, they were like well, where's my coach? Where's the curriculum? Where's the stuff? I'm like, there's no curriculum. This is not mastermind is not curriculum based. Yeah. Like that's what a coaching course is. Then we had to train them on like, you're coming here not to like build something new. It's like you already have something. You have to have a certain level of success to be in the room. And then all you're looking for is like the incremental, like, I could add this to the thing. I could do, if I just made this one little tweak, like that's the people you're looking for. If you're trying to find people who are building something, if they're in the room with the other people will leave too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I would have people who, the right people would come in and they'd be like excited because they'd be like, I want to learn from everybody. And then there'd be people who, there were people who literally did not know what they wanted to sell. And they're like, who gave this person $55,000? Like, where'd they get the money? And so they would, I struggled to get people to maintain that consistent, like they would separate. Mm-hmm. Like the newbies would go off on this side of the room and the other, and it was like natural segregation of the mindset. Yep. And so I was like, man, I wish I could just get everybody on the same page. But I was young, and this makes a ton of sense.
It's making the rule. Like for us, like you have to have 1 or 2 Common Club awards to even apply to get in your circle. Otherwise you join the coaching program, and when you made $1 million, because I don't want to deal with like in the mastermind, I want to deal with like the beginner problems. Like how do I create a product? Like that stuff should be already figured out. Like this is like, we have to have different, like each room has different conversations, right? Like someone from like my inner circle is from 1 million to 10, right? There's different conversations that step where it's like, we need to hire a team. We need, like, that's the questions people have in that. Yeah. 10 million to 50 million, completely different conversations. I got a team. Now it's like, how do we scale? How do we manage my own personal like trash? Like there's different conversations, and 50 to 100 is different conversations, right? And so it's like, if someone's coming looking for this conversation and you have these kind of conversations, and alienates them, you know.
I know you got to go because Dean Graziosi is coming on soon. So I have one final question.
Okay.
And you got to work with me on this one. Okay. I don't. Okay. So here's the deal. All right. So let me make sure we're good here. All right. For the people who maybe aren't, because we're talking about like millions of dollars and 50 million and all this stuff. For the people out there who might be just getting started, or maybe they are making a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. You've been doing this a while. I want the most brutal, no nicey nice Mormon advice. Okay, no white tie. Like it's all gonna be fine. I want the most brutal, like, bro, like you're not gonna make it unless you stop doing this thing that you're doing. Like direct advice. What would you tell someone who's or maybe you've seen the mistake that happens over and over, and just the most brutal, direct, obviously from a place of love, but the most brutal advice you would give to somebody who's just not making it. What would you tell them?
So, bro, the most important advice I could tell you, honestly, the reality is most people, and I talked about this in my Funnel Hack Live a lot. Like, there's two types of people. There's people who are driven and people who are drifters. And most people are not successful because it's easier to drift, to not do anything, to watch TV, to do whatever. And it's like, I'm extremely driven. You're extremely driven. Like, people who are successful are not the ones sitting on the couch, not the ones being lazy, not the ones eating tons of food. Like, if you know, we had this conversation yesterday. Most people who are super successful at this point are in good health. Like, why is that? It's because we're driven people. We're trying from every single aspect, every single thing. And if you're not driven yet, like, it's time to wake up. Like, it's the wake up time. Like, you're not gonna succeed from like low energy, low health, low all these things. Like, if you want to be successful in this area of life, making money, you gotta be successful in all areas of life, which means it's time to wake up, get off the couch, and get to work. Yeah, like, it's all those things. Like, how you do one thing in life, how you do all things in life, right? That's why you see very few like people at the top who are not healthy, and people who are healthy are not, like, they all just kind of go together. But most people are like, they let one thing slip, and the next they know they're 40, 50 years old, and they're asleep, right? It's time to wake up. That's the biggest key.
Yeah. So start small. Like, if you're not getting up at the time you want to get up, if you're not getting up early, start there. Yeah. Start doing that.
It's hard. Yeah, everything's hard.
Yeah.
It is. So
that's why it's worth a lot.
I'm on day 6 of our event. I am so tired. Dad's like, want to make a video together? I'm like, no. But we're going to do it because, like, we're going to sell more ClickFunnels accounts. We're going to serve more people. And, like, yeah, like, I don't feel like a lot of times, I didn't feel like this morning coming in, but I'm here. Like, I got up out of bed. I woke up because I got something bigger than myself. I have a mission. I have other people I'm trying to serve. We're trying to do something amazing. Yeah. And so you do that by getting uncomfortable and just doing it. So
I just wanted to learn and listen, but I sent one email to promote ClickFunnels 2.0, and then I saw I was number 6.
He's like, I'm in, let's go.
So now I'm like... That's funny. Hey, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love it. Let's make some money together.
Okay, let's do it. Man. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.